I'm very excited to introduce certainly one of the most adventurous and prolific artists working in electronic music today, a Chicago native who manages to reference a variety of influences while always pushing beyond with his practice. Welcome, Hieroglyphic Being, also known as Jamal Moss.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Hey.
You hear me? All right, cool.
How you doing?
I'm chill. Yeah.
Yeah, you good? I'm just come in from Amsterdam. What are you up to there?
Maybe I shouldn't say on camera, but I was feeling good. I'm feeling good now. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. And so, no, I'm just staying there for like a month, renting a friend's apartment while he's living in Montreal, and she's got a fly crib. And I was like, yo, I'll drop some ducats to take care of your place. I'm taking care of it. That's all. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up in the south side of Chicago, is that right?
Yeah.
And from what I've read, it seems like a really, really interesting and formative time for music, both personally and on a wider scale. Could you tell us about Chicago back in the day?
I'm gonna feel like somebody's daddy, like an old man telling some stories from a long time ago. I mean, Chicago is what it is. It was more like where I came up. It was all types of stuff going on, but it was more eclectic across the board, especially in black culture. On the south side of Chicago, we wasn't just all disco or funk. We was into a lot of things because a lot of our parents were like either blues musicians or jazz musicians or, in gospel music and stuff like that. So it's like we came from a lineage of people that actually went to school for music or learned music, in the church or in the juke joints or the jazz bars or whatever, and it just kind of crossed over to the next generation. It just happened, I grew up in a household, I found out later on that my adoptive father was affiliated with jazz musicians and blues musicians. Same thing with my big mama and then some other relatives, but I just got influenced from my environment and what was around me, So it's kind of one of those things that some kid might have some punk music, somebody might have some new age music, somebody might have some industrial stuff, and it was like a fusion, and it was just kind of like we go to basement parties or block parties, or back in the day before it was called house parties, it was sock hops. We go to the roller rink and the DJs would play. So house didn't really become like a prevalent thing until like maybe late '83, from what I can remember. And even then, a lot of people thought it was just, what's the word for it? We would say janky back in the day. We didn't really take it seriously because it just sounded kind of off, but we was hearing the commercial radio stuff being played. We got more exposed to the underground tapes, from like Ron Hardy or Robert Owens, or stuff floating around from Andre Hatchett, and we got like Barbecue Bobby or another guy called Pink House, and it influenced a lot of people getting to more the deeper side of sounds or experimental sounds, electronic wise. And there was a radio station called WKKC 89.3, and they would play all types of eclectic stuff you could hear, and they would give you a taste of what the music box was like if you couldn't get in, or educated people about it. It made people want to go out more to seek out this box sound. And yes, I said the box sound, because until this day, y'all still have no clue what it really sounds like. My mentor, I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm gonna get back around. Yeah. But my mentor has a whole box of stuff that was actually played in the music box back in the day, but he refuses to release it because he wants these so-called house people from back in the day finish telling their embellishment, their story as it is until they can't tell anymore, then he's gonna bust everybody out. So yeah, in about 3 to 5 years, you're gonna hear a whole bunch of stuff come out from back over 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. But he has a big box of stuff from Daryl Pandy, Robert Owens stuff, Fingers Inc. stuff, Ricky Dillard. I mean, somebody got some tissue, I might start tearing up right now even thinking about it. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, no matter what you think about Chicago, what you hear in the news is not as bad as the media make it sounds. It's 50 districts, and maybe 4 out of those 50 is high crime area, So it's kind of like, it's not that hard to like those 4 districts to send people in to like cut some of the crime down, because hell, when the Cubs won the World Series and there was too many people out there, somehow they was able to keep everything under control. But 30, 40 thugs late at night. For some reason, it just goes over their head. But the music I came up with helped me from being in the thug life. That's how I look at it. It helped a lot of people like me that came from Chicago, especially on the south side or west side, to steer away from gangs, and we got more energized from this sound. It saved us, a lot of us.
So how was it you got into music in the first place? You've mentioned your mentor. Did you decide you wanted to get into music and seek out a mentor? Or did they come to...
No, I got into the music because I used to sneak out the house like every other bad kid back in the day. So like, yeah, I would go and stuff pillows under the mattress and the sheets and stuff. I had my teddy bear. Yes, I had a damn teddy bear, so leave me alone. I know some of y'all had some teddy bears, so stop. So yeah, and I would just climb out the window and go kick it with a relative, and he took me out to a couple of places, and then it inspired me. And then from there, I clicked with other people, and then I got took into other parties. So you didn't just have to hear Ron Hardy at the Music Box. He would go to the sock hops at Mendel, or he would go to Academy of Our Lady. So like a lot of Catholic schools would do fundraisers through house parties. So believe it or not, the Catholic Archdiocese funded schooling through house parties back in the day. Like, it's insane. Like, a lot of stuff got funded by it. Block parties, rec centers, kept a lot of places going. So, what was the question again? Remember, I was in Amsterdam, so.
At what point did you start producing? How did you get into the production side of it?
Okay, yeah. So, I was a dancer, so I danced a lot. So basically, I used to see my mentors at the parties sitting in the background, especially the Bismarck, when Lewis would like play with Armando. So, and I used to see Adonis just sitting there, and I'm just like, is he an asshole, or is he in like God mode? Like, why is he always come to these things and sit in the corner and just like people watch and just kind of like beats himself? And they understood he was just observing the end product of what he put into the culture, and I guess he was feeling proud that he was able to save a people through him being part of something that was great in history. And I got that after I got to know him. And actually how I got to know him was through this woman I was trying to holler at, but she didn't give me no play. But she was just like, listen, you can't get at me, but I can let you get with your mentor. And I was just like, what you talking about? And she was like, I'm cool with Adonis. And I was like, well, that's a good diss. That's a good come up when a woman disses you and then puts you, you know what I'm saying, with somebody who you looked up to and idolized. Yo, I turned a bad thing into a good thing. Yes, she turned me down, but me and Adonis became homies. This is the moral of the story, which gets to what you just asked.
It does, yeah.
So I ended up mentoring. Under Adonis. He took me under his wing, you know, as far as understanding certain things, how the mechanisms of this culture or this industry is. And then, you know, with Steve Poindexter, I learned the business side of it. So I used to throw a lot of parties in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to 2000, which is another side of my life I'm not getting into unless somebody pay me. So I'm cutting that right there. But then, you know, with Adonis, he like took me under his wing, and I would go to his studio and I try to mess with equipment. He was just like, nah, you ain't ready for that yet. And I was just like, why not? And he was just like, you're not ready. So he just gave me this really big, bulky drum machine and just said, you walk around with this for a year and do every measure, signature, syncopation, rhythm you can off this one drum machine, and I'll graduate you to the next. I walked around with this, basically, this DD1 chord drum machine, and that thing is massive. So I'm walking around sitting in cafes with it. People thought I was kooky, but here I am, you know what I'm saying, just from that one little machine. And then after that, he hooked me up with some keys and some other stuff, and then I blew out some of his equipment and I couldn't touch his stuff anymore. So then I had to go off and venture and just like go to people's studios and fiddle around and do stuff. And then like I had an ex-roommate, Yusef, and he had equipment, so he would literally go out of town, and yes, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm saying this on camera. I would break into his room and get to his gear. When you're thirsty, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, and I would mess around with his DR5 and his other stuff, and I would just jam out with my cousin's DX7, you know, keyboard or whatever, and make these tracks. And I actually made one of my first cassette tapes back in '95. And then I just said, you know what? I gotta pay rent. I'm broke, and I got tired of buying these bean pies from this Muslim dude from like Nation of Islam. And then I was just like, I gotta eat some real food because bean pies ain't kicking it. So I made some cassette tapes, and I used to go to the rave parties. And I did answer your question. I'm just ad-libbing to the rest of it because I know you're gonna ask me something else. So I'm just jumping ahead to it. And I would go to these rave parties, and nobody would buy these tapes. And I used to get pissed off at the checkpoint. So I was like, all right, I'm about to go ahead and get my monkey hustle on. It's a Chicago thing, monkey hustle. Look up the movie. You'll get the whole thing. So I just say, you know what? I'll go to the rave party and tell people like, yo, y'all like Richie Houghton? Yeah, I front it, fake it till you make it. So like I say, yeah, Richie Houghton, this tape sounds just like Richie. So when you come out after like 10 hours of dancing and you need to ride 3 hours back to Idaho or Iowa or wherever you got to go to, you want this for the road, And then people will come out and remember me. They be high as a kite, but they give me that $6. And then if I never see them again, it's whatever. They got the cassette tape, but nobody had beef with me. I mean, I see people that ask me for more tapes, and that's how I built from there. So, all right, next.
Your productions never seem at all laboured. You seem to almost have like quite an improvisational style. Whenever I hear yours, it seems like your melodies are coming out of some sort of murky place. It's like a really beautiful moment when they come through. How do you produce? Like, is it working with Kit for a long time and then recording bits of it? Like, how do you go for it?
As you can tell, I love to run my mouth. So I figured I had a channel way of translating what I wanted to say into sound. So basically what I do is basically a sonic diary. Because sometimes people tell me to zip it, and best way to let it out is through my machines. So, and I release, traumatic experiences, happy experiences, hurtful experiences, exciting experiences. And it's kind of one of those things, it's kind of like sign language, but sonically between me and whatever apparatus or tool I would have at my disposal. And it just comes out that way, but I've been doing it for so long, it's like literally, and I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but maybe I will to some of y'all, but I would literally wake up and I would do like an album a day, and I've been doing it almost now for like 15 years. So I'm sitting on a plethora of stuff, like tons of stuff, and I just don't know what to do with it. So forgive me when people say, oh, I like that one record or that one thing, I just don't remember.
How do you decide what to put out on your own label and other labels? Because you're very prolific, you've been on so many.
I'm not prolific, I'm just a hustler. I gotta eat. It's just kind of one of those things. It's just like when somebody works at a donut shop and you call them prolific, no, they gotta make the donuts. I'm just saying, yeah, so.
Well, you talked about mentorship before. Do you think about bringing a new generation in? Is that something you work with?
Yeah, because for a long time I would come over here and go places and people would ask me what's happening in Chicago, is anybody giving back? And in a way, people think when people were giving back was their ego and then like their status in life and what they did in the music culture in Chicago. So there's like this big rift between the younger generation and the generation that's above me. So it's kind of like they come on the scene and say, yeah, I'll be a mentor, but I'm God, I created this, I'm all that. You wouldn't be part of this if I didn't do this. And it kind of turned people off. So they went off and they went into the EDM culture, or they went into the drum and bass culture, or they went into the indie rock or electronic dance culture, whatever it was, because the older house generation, it was just so about me, jock me, sweat me, So I just felt bad because I give tribute to Mike Huckabee from Detroit for what he does giving back to the youth. So it's kind of like me and people came together and I put a lot of money into it and my partner put a whole lot of money into it, and he's back in Chicago now tripping it. I'm over here and I should be over there, getting this thing together. Oh, she's telling me to wrap it up. All right, cool. So the thing is called chicagophonic.com. So we are actually, it's a audio visual electronic music learning center. So the other partner we have, he actually worked in EDM culture. So we got both ends of the spectrum. So it's like he's worked with Testio and Paul Van Dyke and Calvin Harris and all those cats. He's on 6 months on the road doing all the visual stuff for them. So he's gonna teach that aspect, and then another guy's gonna teach turntablism, and I'm just gonna teach the hustle to the young youth, because that's what they wanna hear. How can I get paid? Not to diss this or this, that will bore them to sleep, but when they're in the street and they gotta try to survive, you know what I'm saying? They wanna know a structured protocol, a plan. So we're giving back, and it's a thing called chicagophonic.com. You can check it out online. The hard opening is in October. We got like some stuff going on now, but it'll fully be going when I basically get back there. So it's like we're bringing people to teach classes, to mentor, guidance, in the electronic field, and then like we'll reach out to these kids, and hopefully in the next 5 years we'll have an actual new generation that's into the house culture, Not house adjacent or whatever you want to call it, but it's actually in it, you know, so, and that's me of giving back, because it really hurt my heart and felt bad to come over and just couldn't really say anything, you know, but now I can.
I don't think I can speak to you without talking about your DJ sets, which are really unique, especially for like a global touring DJ and artist. All your songs really come to attention. You know, you're not about kind of easy blends. There's no kind of chill Ibiza evenings with how you play at all. It's really, I find them really impressive. Could you tell people about them? And maybe you spoke about Music Box earlier. Was that an influence on how you play?
Am I allowed to really curse, or this is gonna be edited because it's like whatever? I mean, I just kind of had like this no fucks given attitude. I mean, sometimes people take themselves too damn seriously. I mean, really think about it. No diss to DJs. I'm not a DJ. I put out cassette tapes and say worst DJ ever, and people thought I was just trolling, and they would buy the things and it would sell out, but I literally would just say I suck, and people thought it was good and they bought it. But the whole thing is, it was just like, if you hear DJs back in the day, or jocks, we would call them selectors, it really wasn't about the whole tight blend on top. It was about, you know, emotion, feeling, you know what I'm saying? It was a call and response, and it's like the more the crowd was amped up, which is kind of disappoints me to this day, that people don't move now on the floor like they moved back then. You gotta realize, when I was coming up, people, it looked like the Broadway Cats. You know what I'm saying? People were like doing ballet moves and all types of crazy stuff up in the club. So if you DJing and you see people crowd doing that, you get amped up. You see what I'm saying? Then the crowd gets more amped up. It's kind of one of those situations. So it's kind of like, in my mind, anytime I am allowed, if they're not afraid to let me get up there, and I call it audio texturizing. So I'm not a DJ. I trademarked that shit too. Audio texturizing is what I do when I get up on stage. I kind of like, if you have me have two records together, I can't blend them motherfuckers for shit. But for some reason, I can have 3 CDJs, 2 turntables, and some other stuff. I get everything going, and I can start editing live on the fly. It's kind of one of those weird things I can do. But going back to Ron Hardy and the other jocks back then, they took chances out there. You know what I'm saying? Even though they had like the reel-to-reels and all this other stuff, but they really had a passion for it, and would do take pause edits. You know what I'm saying? Extend breaks and stuff, and do weird things with the sound system and get people really going. And what I try to do is maybe 10% of what they used to do. That's how I look at it. I just pay homage to people who came before me. That's about it, yeah. I just want to try to bring that feeling back. Just people, don't be scared to move on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Hump a wall, hump a speaker. You know what I'm saying? Love somebody, that's all, yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, can we get some questions, please? Anyone have any questions?
Have at it.
Let's wait for the...
Yeah, he got something going on. All right, who, what, what's going on?
We just got the mic coming.
Yeah, the microphone checker. There you go.
Hello. You mentioned that you sort of got introduced to the music through the dance culture. What kind of styles, or what kind of styles of dance was going on then, or what were you involved in terms of dance style?
I mean, technically speaking, we would do like performance art, like literally up in the place. So imagine like if you went to like a nice theater and you seen people do like very modern dance or like some very avant-garde, you know, stuff. That's what we would do up inside a club or inside the Bismarck or the Ascot, you know, or the McCormick Place, you know. And that's one thing I want to tell everybody. It's like Chicago's the type of place, and no disrespect, if you happen to be in the audience, we don't hit up Resident Advisor or Accelerator magazine or anybody and say, oh, look at us. Like literally before I left to come over here, Ron Trent had a block party with 50,000 people, 50,000 black folks, not one gunshot. You know what I'm saying? But then like by that Monday morning, 8 people were dead and 60 shot on the south side of Chicago. But I'm looking like, no, it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of one of those things. And those people were dancing and feeling themselves. And it was just like, it was a beautiful thing. And it's like that culture is not lost. It's just that we just don't publicize it to the rest of the world because in a way we don't really need to. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like one of those things, like the older people from like say 29 up to like 60 were out there. Now the problem is the people that's under that to try to get them into it. You see what I'm saying? So like when they have like these EDM festivals, those people under 29 will go to that more so than a traditional, Chicago house, music culture or whatever, but people would just vibe with each other. It wasn't sexual, they would just feel good. It's almost like, you ever see a Black Baptist church? You ever see videos of that and people start catching the Holy Ghost? Yeah, that was kind of how it was back in the day when we kicked it. Like, we would go really with our church clothes on, and then like when the club was out, we'd go right to church, like 8 in the morning, to Bible study. It was that serious, yeah. I hope that answered your question, right? All right, cool. Who next?
Just a quick one. What was the movie that you mentioned, Monkey something?
Monkey Hustle.
Monkey Hustle.
Chicago classic. You'll understand the Chicago mindset when you check out the movie, yeah.
Thank you.
Dolomite's in it. Anybody know what Dolomite is?
Yeah.
All
One
right.
final question.
So if you were to say just one thing to any young producer, who would that be? Any piece of advice?
All right, no disrespect, but I didn't know what the hell you just said.
I just said so.
Because you obviously not from around here, so go ahead.
So if you were to give one piece of advice to a young producer, what would that be?
Tariq,
Advice to a young
I get it now. No, the one piece of advice I would give, and I'm gonna piss some people off, and don't boycott me tomorrow, all right? But this needs to be said. All I'm gonna say is, anybody coming into this, give the best that you can give of yourself, because you're basically giving it humanity to make the world a better place. If you can't cut out the politics, whatever that's going on, don't be a political pundit, be about the music. Because the one thing I'm starting to see now that's going on, everybody's talking about everything else about the music. If you really got something fucking to say, write a damn song and put the beats behind it. That's, if you really want to get people's attention, get the hell off of Twitter, get the hell off of Facebook, quit beating people up for whatever they got to say. If you want to say something, put it in a song. You know what I'm saying? Go find somebody, because I heard she's very versed in literature. So like, if you need a writer, somebody to structure what you need to do, find somebody to help you write poems or whatever, and then put it, because there's so many beats out there, but it's not enough. And yeah, I'm talking shit because I just dropped a record the other day with me doing vocals. So anybody try to come at me? Yeah. But I'm just saying, that's it. Just be about the music and express what you feel in the music to bring people more together, not separated. Because I'm starting to see this serious division going on, and it's very ugly.